the long-awaited episode of Long Shots here at Gotham Podcast Studios. We're back here.
Yeah.
We've been working elsewhere, and it feels good to be back here, back in the city.
It does. In the rain. 60 degrees.
Yes.
June.
Yes.
What is it? 16th?
The 16th.
June 16th.
Yes.
Yeah. 60 degrees, June 16th.
And drizzly rainy.
Doesn't seem right.
But today we have the wonderful Doug Pfaff here.
Wow.
An old friend, coworker.
Yeah.
And, you know, we worked together in 07 and 08.
I think we figured that out.
Yeah, at Petry Media.
Yeah. Huge shout out to all the Petry Media alum.
Yes, the late, great Jerry Mafia.
The late, great Jerry Mafia.
Wow.
Rest in power.
Yes,
Jerry.
for sure.
Legend, research guru.
Yes,
research
if we will.
Legend,
Yes, legend.
potentially.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
One of the nicest guys ever. Really?
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was a vice president, director of sales, and I was put up on, really, that was the research floor.
Yes.
Right? You guys had half of it. The president of the company sat in a far corner through a fire door. But
Alan.
Yes.
Alan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I sat, Alan P., no last names. I don't even know if he's still alive, I guess.
I don't know.
Good question there. But I sat in research proper. My office was, because I was a new VP and director of sales.
Yeah.
They put me in.
Loud and boisterous.
I was loud and boisterous. Yeah.
Loved it, though.
Well dressed.
Well dressed.
Thank you.
Yes. And I want to tell you, that's what, I remember, being there, and I could say I had a straight shot into your office. I could see, pick your nose and fart after lunch. But I was like, you know what, man? I admired something that you had, the way that you carried yourself, and just the way that, you moved in the office, and I wanted to be a part of that team. I was essentially, but I wanted to, do that next role. Unfortunately, the market fell out, and we were let go from there. But the lasting feeling that I got when I left there has been with me and was kind of driving me, even through all the insanity that I have had over the last 18 years.
Yeah. Yep.
It kind of it all really started there, where I was like, wow. I was like, I got my first. They took me to an upfront. Jerry took me to the upfront.
Which, by the way, that was tremendous.
Yeah.
Those were limited tickets, as we've found out this year.
Right.
How difficult it is to even get in to an upfront.
Yeah.
So those tickets were given out to the companies, and they had, a certain amount for each group. Research got 3 or 4.
Yeah.
A number for the director of sales, for corporate, because that was a treat, right?
Oh, sure.
Here were all the upcoming shows.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by the stars from those shows.
Yes.
Plus all of the local news talent, right? So New York, you were with whoever it was.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, because I think we had a lot of NBC, WPIX.
Yeah.
CBS.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so like I said, I left there and I went on a path of the market falling out did not help with being a young person trying to anchor himself in a career and a budding addiction problem didn't help either. But
wait, what?
Yeah.
I can't, that's hard to believe. I can't believe that. Because we were the madmen, right? That's what the industry was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost,
I love that was the most attractive thing. Some of the guys were going out at lunchtime and drinking,
smoking in our offices.
Yeah,
you could smoke in your office. You could, research guy, 5 o'clock. Let me open the drawer.
Yeah,
2 fingers of, Maker's Mark or whatever it was a majority of the way that it was at that time.
I think it was probably starting to take a turn at that point, like cleaning
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Very, very early stages of things. We've talked about it, called the gymnasium, the gym. Well, you're not going to whatever bar or restaurant. We used to hang out a lot at T.G. Whitney's. I don't even think it's opened anymore. So I guess I feel good saying that. You go to Whitney's for lunch, but then it was like, nah, I can't make it today. I'm going over to the the New York Athletic Club to work out.
At lunch.
Work out.
Bro, I would be so hungover at that place. I'd sleep in the conference room.
I had a couch in my office.
Yeah.
Now I wasn't drinking at the time.
No,
I was done. I was done.
Yes.
I was all done. 1998. My daughter was 8 months old. I was a rep, just an account executive at a different company.
Right.
And done. It had beaten me down, and I lost my job. So now, lose your job.
Oh my God.
Have an 8-month-old.
Yeah.
Own a home. Have a wife. And then, there's a bunch of other little things I think that all stockpile up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how did I get here? This isn't going to go well,
Yeah. Losing the job is always.
That was the first time I had lost a job.
Ever in your entire life,
I was 32 years old.
Yeah.
And we're letting you go.
Yeah.
And you never, 32, that's a long time ago. That's 27, 28 years ago, whatever it was.
But, I mean, you have been somebody who had worked hard your entire life.
Since I was 14.
Showed up on time. Yes, absolutely. And then all of a sudden, you can't keep it together at work.
Well, and you want to, you know what? This is, I want to, a lot of people don't talk about this. How about this? Because now it's different in this day and age. I was being humbled. And, we'll get into talking about God and my spirituality and all of that. But you're being humbled, because now you have to go to a place called the unemployment office.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had to go. Listen to what I'm saying. You had to go to the unemployment office. You don't have to go to the unemployment office anymore.
Yeah.
This day and age. If you lose your job, you hop online, you go to the department of whatever it is, you sign up, you verify through all of that. I had to go to this building.
Yeah.
With a bunch of other people, get on a line, fill out paperwork, and it was tough. It was tough.
I know. And it's so funny because at that point, you're like, you say the word humbled, but in the moment, you're
starting to be humbled.
Right. But in the moment, you're like, I can't believe they're doing this to me. Right.
Always.
Had nothing to do with
it always done to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then, what you and I, we love this. Sorry. Can I jump to, don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
I don't have to wait. Do I have to wait on this line?
Yeah.
Don't I just get to go to the front of unemployment?
Yeah.
Until you realize you're just another bozo on the bus.
Yeah.
And I think that was, that was the beginning of it. Like I had to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
Yeah.
Roll up my sleeves and get to work on myself, physically, spiritually, mentally.
Right.
And all of that stuff. And that's, you saw me 9, 10, almost 10 years into that journey.
Yeah.
And I was cleaning up and wearing suits and ties every day.
Yeah. And I had no idea. Right?
And I was going to the gym, by the way.
Yeah.
I joined the gym. I joined the New York Sports Club. And I was going there if I could at lunch, but my job was big enough where I had lunches with clients.
Right.
So I would go to the gym in the morning, like really early. What?
Yeah.
Not sleep?
Dude, I've been getting up at 4:40 recently.
So you're the 5 a.m. club. You're one of those guys.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and I've just been trying to get up and get the day going. I walk the dog.
It's great.
Spend my time with my spiritual thing that I need to to do, what I like to call God, and I do my thing. And it's been recent that I've been getting up that early because I always get up at 5, just because I get up, I go to, and this is where we have to mention, I go to the Divvy Tree, right? And I get up and I go there. This is a neighborhood family
coffee
place in Point Pleasant.
New Jersey.
And they're a huge supporter of all my content and what I'm doing. And they're our newest partner. I'm very excited. But I go there every morning. There's a group of elderly gentlemen. We all trade off of who buys coffee. It's just like me being at the bar, get everybody around.
Round of coffee.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
What, milk and sugar? Milk, 2 sugars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but what I wanted to do now is I wanted to introduce a little more to that morning where I'm, doing a little bit of exercise before I go and I hit the coffee shop and I go to the beach where I take time to kneel and pray, you know?
Yeah.
And
so important.
And that's so important. So and at that point when I had met you, you're that's new to you, right? You're like 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah, I'm 7, 8, 9 years into waking up early, praying for the day ahead. Some really simple. I think it's not what it is today. It's not it's not walking into your studio and the first thing that happens when we walk into the building is the guy tells us how blessed he is by God, and you don't bump into people like that.
Well, first off, I would
when you don't have it,
right, and also I would have been like, okay, buddy,
right.
I would have rolled my eyes and been like, all right, buddy,
and I engaged him.
Yeah,
so engaged him. I think I said, I love when people talk about God.
Hell yeah,
another believer, another great day.
Yeah.
Which hasn't always been the case. We talk about that often.
Yeah.
But that starts early. You get up in the morning. Oh my God, I'm alive.
Yeah. Thank you.
I made God's VIP list.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Another day in the dream kitchen. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. Wow. Yeah. Blessed and unstoppable.
That's right.
All these great things, Billy. So you do that, and then you build on it. Yeah, it's God, I have a tough time getting by with 45 minutes of prayer and meditation before I go to the gym.
Yeah.
If I have to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock to do it, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your day just doesn't go. Otherwise, you don't bump into those people in the lobby downstairs that constantly keep you tethered.
I'm just in myself the whole day.
Right. Well,
only thinking about myself. Right.
My seat.
It's my seat.
It's my seat. It's my seat.
Yeah.
And I think you have that prayer, meditation, and obviously a great cup of coffee from your local coffee shop, the Divvy Tree.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when you check in with God first.
Yeah. It's easier for me to check back in throughout the day.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
You do have to do that, because otherwise, like I remember in the beginning of my spiritual journey, which is what we'll call it. Mm-hmm. You did that in the morning. Sometimes it was 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Right.
Like I said, you built. But if you didn't check back in, by the time you got to 5 o'clock and it was time to go home, somebody was going to get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 1,000. No, I mean, it's already happened, but in my mind,
Correct.
Right? I mean, I have murdered my coworkers methodically.
When no one's getting out alive.
Yeah.
Nobody survives
today.
Nobody survives.
No, yeah.
Nobody survives. And I
Yeah.
better have the whole
Yep.
Long Island Railroad car to myself.
Yeah.
I get the car by myself tonight, which never happens. So you do have to check in. I like what you said, periodically. If you can do that, that's great. I'm a little bit more regimented than that. Like I want to check in at 12:50, 1:50, 2:50, 3:50, 4:50, or maybe have that in my mind that I need to do that.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, oof.
I know. But that was a discipline that had to be learned from me.
It's a muscle.
Yeah.
It's working that spiritual muscle, the physical being, the mental being, all of it. Otherwise, you don't get to go from, you saw me as vice president and director of sales at one company to where I recently finished up as president.
Yeah.
27 years later.
It's so funny though, because like when I first met you and then when I left you, I just thought you were a crazy guy who partied like I did, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward last October, November, I see this guy Doug start liking my stuff on TikTok, and I'm like, how? I was like, who is this dude? And then I'm
so you
like,
you didn't remember in the beginning, really, at first.
I know, but like I was like, there's no way that's Doug Pfaff, right? So then I look at and it says, I looked at my profile. I still had your number in my
phone.
Wow. And it said, and I must have like TikTok must have suggested through my contacts, right? Because you can upload, followers or whatever, follower suggestions through your contacts. So
suggested for Doug, suggested for Darren.
So whatever happened, you started liking my stuff, and I was like, no way. And then you were like, yeah, I've been because I started talking about my journey, getting clean and sober, and you're like, I've been sober 20 plus years, and I was like, holy shit,
almost 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah. And it's good to say that too. Like we talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That was a big step to be accepted in the business world as someone who did not drink.
To be open about that.
Yeah, I'll have a club and cranberry and club.
Yeah.
I remember 30 years ago, and vodka, and I'd be no, just cran and club. People don't. You weren't normal.
Yeah.
It wasn't normal. It wasn't acceptable. Nowadays, I think because of social media, and I think because of successful young people like yourself, by the way, the work that you do is amazing. That's why I loved watching it, and I loved seeing you. You started out with regular people. Mm-hmm. Like I would see you on the street, and some of the stuff that you did when you traveled out of the country.
Yeah.
Talking to those people off the street.
Yeah.
You've graduated. Now it's seemingly, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could say, oh, I knew him when, before Frank the Tank, or before Ben Gravy, or before Victor the Good Boss.
Yeah.
Also great men who are doing unbelievable things
of course.
For society.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really cool, and Ben's out and open, like, I do all these things without a drink or a drug. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, people don't realize that the high that comes with that.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. The things that you do, you really get to enjoy life.
Right.
You really feel everything.
Yeah.
To feel everything, good and bad.
Is a buzz in itself, baby.
Is a buzz in itself.
You know what I mean?
It really is.
It is.
I told you last year I got to take the whole family. We're out in Aspen. We're out in Colorado skiing. I'm a snowboarder. Mm-hmm. I was a snowboard instructor for years. What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just don't realize how much fun is in those things.
Yeah.
It really is. When I saw you in where were you? Greenland?
Iceland.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait. I think I tuned in. I'm like, is he in Iceland? What the and you're just rolling up on the locals.
Yeah, man. It was a great opportunity, man, and like just to be able to talk to some people throughout, because there's a bunch of people all over the world there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was amazing.
It's the best thing. Yeah. I think that's, if you can look at that, like we discussed. Here's my prayer and meditation today. Mm-hmm. Here's my yesterday, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, and look where it's gotten me today. Yeah. We talked about that. I want to, if I win a Grammy Award, it's like everybody gets up and they say, I want to thank God. Right. I want to thank God for another day to go out there and live.
Just say thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's the best. I love the, how are you? Mm-hmm. How you doing?
Yeah.
How can I help?
Yeah, man. A lot of that, it's just so important just to talk to people, give them an outlet. And I know that there's a lot of street interviews. They have been born as a result of the social media platforms.
Yeah.
And but I think our question is just so simple and so thought-provoking and just so useful to other people. Just talking to just average people is is what life is about. You know what I mean? Like getting some higher profile guests and stuff like that. Like that's cool, and I do enjoy that, and I think it's amazing when I can get to sit down with somebody. But like being in the street and just like asking, like every once in a while, like I'll get, every time that I do that, I get at least one or two like real gems of people talking about how important it is to really appreciate life, or I'm just going through this and this just happened, because there's so many people that go through that, you know. Like my grandmother just passed last week, right? Oh no, yes, last week. Last week, Friday morning, right? And she was a character, okay? And she lived a bit of a turbulent life. And I think that that's cool. You know, like she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I just think that like talking to everyday people and about their experience in life, because I just think that life is so weird. There's just so many weird things that happen in life. Yeah. There's so many like beautiful things that happen in life, so many tragic things and all from these different occurrences, beautiful things happen, right? Yeah. And we have a choice, right? Like you said, it's either we numb them out or we feel them. And experience them,
right? Experience the experiences.
Yeah,
and that's really what it's all about. And you know, by the way, numbing is one word. It's also quieting the voices and the fear, the overwhelming fear. Instead of embracing your fellow man and or woman, right. Like you know, you have these preconceived notions, of what. You know, hey, look, he's in a suit and tie sitting in the corner office. I want to be like that. Mm-hmm. And today I'm in t-shirt and Lulu's or whatever it is. But I remember I went on a vacation once. My kids were very, very young. I was very, very young. And I was experiencing things for the first time. Mm-hmm. Taking these two beautiful young ladies and my wife. We were going to the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. Okay. To get out of the country, you needed documentation. And there was no internet. There was no cell phones. There was none of that, right? Experiencing this all. The anxiety of moving 3 women and myself and luggage from where we lived to the airport, JFK, through the whole thing. Well, I don't get one step inside of the airport. Documents, please. And I'm like, I'm ready. I pull out my documents. I pull out Xerox copies of the girls'
passports,
birth certificates. Because that was all you needed for the Bahamas. Guy says, "Are these photocopies?" I'm like, "Yeah, photocopy. We can't accept these." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Now here comes the anxiety. Yeah. Right? Instead of that, I said a little prayer, check in, right? All right, listen, before we start yelling at this guy who's just doing his job.
For sure.
Right? He's just doing his job. Yeah. Right? Probably protecting me in another case because somebody had a false document.
For sure, of course.
Take a step back, take a deep breath, say a quick prayer, and figure it out. And turn off all of those preconceived notions. And I can't tell you, Darren, the way this... I have 4 huge bags, 2 little kids, a wife, and backpacks. There was no, by the way, and I sound like it's the ice ages. It's not. But we didn't even have, we were young. We weren't making money. I didn't have luggage with wheels on it. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. No luggage with wheels. It sounds crazy. Yeah. No cell phone, no social media, no anything. No documents. I couldn't store anything. And they were telling me now, I saved and paid for this vacation. Yeah. You're not going. You're not making the flight. You're not going to make the flight. Yeah. So think about this, right? I can feel myself going, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Nope. Said the prayer. Asked a couple of questions. Asked for a supervisor who said, you know what? Are you the parents? I'm like, yeah, we're the parents. Yeah. You know, great. You have your licenses and your passports? Yes. Okay. The AirTran was brand new at Kennedy. They said, if you just take the AirTran over to Terminal 3, there's a notary. and he will notarize these photocopies. And then you can take the tram back from Terminal 3 to Terminal 5. Now, all my mind, I'm like, we're never making this flight. It's never going to happen. How am I going to carry all this? I got to get a luggage. And that's when God shows up and shows out. You ask and you receive, right? You open the door and he comes marching through. All of a sudden, I got some guy, unsuspecting, scary cat, who's like, you need help with those bags? Took us to the AirTran, carried bags with me. Now, granted, I did not have a lot of money, and I was bringing cash. I'm scared for everything right now. We're gonna die. We're gonna miss the flight. They're gonna steal my money. It's all running. But I'm just breathing and I'm praying and I'm getting, God, please, if we're meant to be on this flight, just help me get there. Just help me get there. We get there. We find this one guy. Not too dissimilar. He's in a red coat. They told us. Darren in the red blazer. He's the notary. I'm like, where? Terminal 3? Massive. Found him. He notarized them. He signed them. We get back on. We make the flight. The whole 9 yards. It was one of those. And now we're sitting on the plane going to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Like, wow. You know, that was like when somebody for the first time said, just start small and pray for a front row parking spot. And I thought, I'll show them this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I prayed for the front row parking spot, like a concert. I'm like, went to the front row. My wife goes, where are you going? Where are you going? I'm going to the front row. I got a front row spot reserved. And there it was.
I have to tell you, dealing with fear, I always like to ask about fear when I'm doing this.
Please do.
Every episode, because I just feel that it is the driving force for most of for many people's lives, right? And I don't think that, you know, if you're not experiencing it, like I'm just so curious as to like what do people do like when life shows up, right? And it runs through you, right? Your heart starts going. You're like, fuck, what am I going to do right now? You know? Yeah. And the way that, you know, fear is different, right? So fear of like, you know, you're going through something right now. Your mother is suffering from dementia, right? Yeah. There was also fear from like you losing a position that you held, right? Yeah. And, you know, I think that all of it at the end gets boiled down to the same thing, but it doesn't feel that way.
Well, I think you and
each in every situation.
Yeah, you know? You're right. Well, the more I heard this once. I was listening to Joel Osteen, and he said, you know, up on top of the ocean is where it's rough, and it's where all the waves are. And you can get caught up in that. You can get caught up in the waves of life. You really can. He said, but what you need to do is go 30 feet down where it's calm. And there's no sign of it. Now that, by the way, those 30 feet, that swim down 30 feet, that 30 seconds to get yourself calm is a tremendous journey. Yeah. It's a tremendous journey that you have to, we talk about it all the time, the knee-jerk reaction. You know, get out of my seat. Yeah. You know, I can see myself in other people and the way you act within fear, right? Within fear. And you can, you know, remember the bumper stickers, no fear? Yeah. I used to think, I should probably put that bumper, because I got to convince myself that I don't have any fear. You do have fear. It's just levels of it, right? Or how do you deal with it? You know, or can I turn it around? Can we take that word out of the dictionary altogether? Can we make it, well, I'm a little bit anxious about going on this interview today. Or, you know, I'm a little bit excited. How about, oh my God, I'm so afraid I don't want to be on this podcast with Darren. I mean, on the heels of all these other great men who have done this with him. It's like, no, I woke up this morning and said, I'm so excited to go into the city and do something that I've never done before for the first time. You know, and I know that you'll show me grace because you're comfortable. You've been doing this. You had game-changing men and women in the same room that do great things. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You know, you got to change it. That's a lot of work.
1,000%. And I for a while, like I go back and look at some of the interviews I had. I mean, they're horrible, you know, and they're getting, that's tough.
You're being tough.
Yeah.
There's beginning stages. It was a beginning stage.
Of course. And they're getting better.
How's my hair, by the way?
Yeah. They're getting better, but you know, at first there's a huge learning curve, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I'm very aware of that it's not great right out the bat. You know what I mean? Like right out the gate. Like I know that it's not going to be. You know, I'm not Rogan or even Theo Vaughn, right? Or one of those.
Oh, we talk about that all the time.
But here's the other
Darren Riley.
But the other, yes. So the other part of that is just like, why would I not like have the thought process that I'm going to be great, right? That I'm going to be great. Like this is going to work. Like there is this plan B is plan A, man. You know? So
what's the best that can happen?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the best that can happen?
Like, so, you know,
yeah.
We were in the in the elevator just before, and I was like, this has got to be it. Like, I can continue doing what I'm doing, but I was like, this is the next move. Like, and as I continue to grow here, it gets easier to communicate with people and to see the importance of me pulling things out of everyday people.
Yeah.
So because life is stressful, anxious, and just not always great. You know what I mean? And people need
gets lifey.
Yeah.
Life gets lifey.
When I understood, right, and this is why all of this is born from my experience getting clean, is because I found a community in which I could get better because I knew that they had been where I was.
Well, right? That's a huge thing right there. That's a topic, right? Like you asked for help.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's,
so
we don't say that that's okay.
Right.
We're not out there, you know, I am saying it's okay. Mm-hmm. I make a big joke about it. I mean, because I think you need to approach it sometimes very lighthearted, right? Not to scare people off. Right? It's intimidating. Wait a second. You're doing a podcast. You're not like, you guys aren't like having a couple of cocktails and huffing some lines before you get on. Come on, bro. You gotta be kidding me. No, I'm not. But, you know, also it's because I have a great team. Mm-hmm. I have an unbelievable team. Obviously, my wife, my 2 adult daughters. But I always say, like, we've been through cancer. My wife had stage 3 cancer, treatment for a year. Mm-hmm. And my daughters were young, like 10 and 13.
Yeah.
And I remember they said, you know, you might want to get family therapists.
Yeah.
And I ran to the family therapist and I asked for help and direction and advice. It's okay. In this and in this world, it's great. In this day and age, you know, with what a lot of the companies do with EAP, or, you know, I love when you have your first kid. When we had my first daughter, I think I got like 20 minutes off between the birth and going back to work.
Yeah.
And that was like paid. You know, we're going to give you 20 minutes paid off. And I'm like, I'm kidding.
Right.
But it wasn't today. You get
I know.
months.
My friends, I have friends that have had, have been off for, they have a kid and they're off for like a month.
Yeah, words like paternity leave did not exist.
Yeah.
When I had my first kid. When I had my second daughter, when I had my first daughter, when I had my second daughter. But the point is, and we're coming around it, is, you know, people need you to show those, ask for help.
Yeah.
It's not, how's it going today?
Yeah.
Not well. Somebody sat in my chair on the railroad. I mean, let's just take that apart right there,
Yeah.
right? You have these little beliefs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I love when you do that. I love
because
that.
That's really all that this is. It's just like I'm just trying to be a conduit for life. You know what I mean? To let people know that they're not alone in their situations. That
You're never alone.
There's levity in life. You know what I mean?
I think so, and there's levity in
that brings levity to the situation. Like if you're going through something dark and then like you talk to somebody, like it starts to feel not so like not
heavy.
that bad, not that heavy.
Right. I like to say
dark humor.
Get your hand
works.
up. Get your hand up. Mm-hmm. Get your hand up and ask for help.
Whatever it is.
Get your hand up and ask for a question. Get your hand up and ask for directions.
Yeah.
Get your hand up and say, no, I've never done this before. Mm-hmm. Do something. I think, that's another thing, by the way, to help make fear a little bit more palatable. Mm-hmm. Do something new all the time.
Yeah.
Do something new. I was 40 years old. We wanted to take my kids skiing every weekend. It was very expensive. Mm-hmm. And I talked about that. I'm like, wow, this is really... I saw other men doing it with their families. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
How do you swing all this?
Yeah.
How does this... because this is $10,000 a season.
Right.
Right? Do you save? Because I wasn't never a big saver. I was kind of like, let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll take the new Gucci's.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, it's great. I got a job at the mountain as a snowboard instructor or a ski instructor. A bunch of these guys from my hometown, Long Beach, Long Island. And I said, do you think I could? Oh, yeah, let me come over here. I'll introduce you to the guy who runs the school. There's a little course that you have to take. And then after the course, you have to take it. Now, just think about it. Not from this. Think about there's a little course that you have to take. And then there's a test that you have to take. Can you see me backing away from this great opportunity to be
of course.
A course?
A
test?
Yeah.
Right?
Right then and there, I'm out.
Forget everything and run. Forget everything and run.
Yeah.
There's your fear.
Yeah.
Right? I'm out. I am out. I don't care. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go rob somebody because it's easier. Right? Well, I leaned in. I took that class. Mm-hmm. It was really difficult. Mm-hmm. And then I took the test and I passed it. Remember, after I found out I passed. Because it was, by the way, that test was on the mountain, on your board, actually doing stuff.
Right.
Do ollie, nollie, and I'm like, for the ollie, those are real things. They're real things.
Yes.
Check it. And you had to execute them. Now, oh my God, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And then I passed and I went down. I was like a little kid,
Sick.
And I'm like, honey.
Yeah.
And then, it's like we can do hard things or tough things, and then you're rewarded.
Yeah.
And then you can, this is what I love to say. We talk about this all the time. I have this unique ability to check the record. Mm-hmm. Check the record. Like I can do, we can do, you can do hard things.
1,000%.
You can.
You can.
And it is so... It's a rush. What did you say before? It's like the rush of living those things and not trying to... and by the way, I don't think that people... It is more and more about that, but I don't know that people love it.
No. Well...
I don't know that people love it. Those people.
Again, the whole fear thing is just like, who wants to... Who wants to feel with what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people surrounding you that say, why even try? It's not going to work. Right. And
what's the best that can happen?
Yeah.
What's the best?
Again,
the best is yet to come.
You said it before, fuck it. Right. And then I would do, and now I use that in a way where it used to kill me, but now it inspires me, right?
Well,
you know, like
yes, I say this is my new thing too. Like, hey God, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means sometimes. When you're in that, you and I talk about this too, in the hallway, when one door closes, before the bigger and better door opens, and we know that it will, but that hallway, you're there alone, right? It's like the valley of the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil. That sounds so much easier than it is, but it's difficult. You know, you're not tethered to that bigger and better door. But again, I can check the record. You know, and the hallways that have been in when I've tried that have gotten longer and longer.
Yeah.
Because you're being meant to stretch your faith.
1000%.
Stretch your faith. Trust in me. Right? Trust in me. Jeremiah 29:11, one of our favorite Inky. Right? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you.
Right? I mean, and I love Inky and I remember, you know, hearing that one thing that I sent you, where he talks about, like, you know, God tells him to go another way, and he's like, it might take a little longer to manifest.
Yep.
But it's even sweeter.
Yeah.
And that was him talking about not getting his shot as a first round pick in the NFL, and him, you know, building a strong faith, you know, to become
and an unbelievable business now.
A man with a message to inspire millions of people, you know. And when
that's what you and I also say, what I always say, God turned my mess into a message.
For sure.
You know, Inky was, as a freshman, I think, was the way it was when he took that hit, right?
Oh, he was actually, they came in and told him that if all he had to do was finish out these last 4 or 5 games.
And he was going to be a guaranteed millionaire.
As a senior, he was going to be, he was going into the first round, top 10 draft pick.
And it's amazing because,
Tennessee.
And you know, that's what you're talking about. Like, oh my God, my dream, his dream is this, but God's dream is this.
Right.
And you sometimes when your dream is that big, or you think it's that big, I'm going to go to the NFL, I'm going to be a president of a company someday. God's saying, no, you're going to own a company, or no, right? And that's what he did for Inky, right? Yeah. Look at the business that he has.
Yeah, I
mean, he has blown up.
Yeah.
So many of them have. So what is it?
Yeah.
You know, what is it that, you know, we tend to sell ourselves short,
right?
Which you're not doing right now, which I love. You're like, I'm all in on this.
Well, right. But that was the thing, though, because when I was working with you and they let me go, that was my moment. And I was just like, what? Like, I was like, what do you, like, you don't understand. Like, I have plans. You know, I have plans. Like, this is going to be, you know, I've worked so hard. You know, I have dedicated myself to, like, really doing something with my life, you know, and I knew that the humble beginning in research was going to, and I just thought that that was going to be it. But instead, you know, God, life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, had other plans for me. You know?
Yeah, and that's a good point, too. I mean, you and I are very comfortable saying thank God. Right, or all glory to God, or I owe it to God, you know, or please God, get me out of this mess.
Yeah.
Again, I think, you know, I wasn't always comfortable with sitting in front of another adult man going, yeah, well, you know, how'd you get here today? Well, thank God. You know, all glory to God.
That's a very passive saying.
Correct.
Thank God. You know?
Right, yeah.
I mean, like, when I say it, I mean it.
Right.
You know?
Oh, and the other, you know, flip side of that is when people take, you know, gosh darn it. You don't always say, I don't always say gosh darn it.
Yeah,
you
no.
say something else. So when you realize the value of that, when you do a little bit of research, and when you see other, you know, great men who you aspire to be, and there's a million of them. There really are. And you know, until you become open, you don't even know that those great men exist.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I thought this guy was a motivational speaker. and he's incorporating the message of
Yeah.
God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember when I worked at Fox, I was just being exposed to Joel Osteen at the first time. I've seen Joel at Yankee Stadium twice. I saw him at Madison Square Garden once, and he's really brought me back to my Catholicism and, you know, going to church and stuff like that. He opened me up to this just positively great message that comes from the Bible and from God and from all this stuff. I remember I was going to the bathroom. I was in my office. I'm on 15. Fox had a radio station. It was on the same floor. Joel was in his early stages of being, I mean, look at him now, 4,000 bestsellers, whatever it is. So I walk out of my office into the hallway to go to the bathroom, and there's Joel and Victoria and their whole entourage.
Wow.
Darren, I let out oh my God, Joel, so loud. They thought it was a security concern.
Wow.
They all did the, like, you know, whatever it was, and I could see it so quickly. And I said, oh no, oh my God, I'm such a big fan.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it was. He actually ended up engaging me, and I was like,
kidding.
you know, so that's something where you go, wow, this guy gets to be, in my mind, famous.
Mm-hmm.
And giving God credit for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then just being a nice guy.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You don't, those people are the guy downstairs,
Yeah.
you know?
That's what I'm talking about. The fucking just the everyday guy, man, that is just so important to everyone else. You know what I mean? But but they just go about their lives, and like that's why I think it's so amazing just to like stop that guy in the street and be like, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
I think it is too, because I think otherwise everybody's got their, I mean, nowadays everybody's got, I mean, we've gone from AirPods to headsets.
I know.
I mean, everybody's got a headset on, and nobody's engaging, or very few people, less and less people are engaging or making eye contact.
Yeah.
Or I mean, an hour train ride, nobody looks at you or talks to you, or how's your day?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Do not look at me.
Yeah.
You're in. Get out of my seat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Those are sweaty moments. Those are hot moments.
I know.
Thank God I wear the Cafex.
The Cafex, another amazing partner.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's a kind of a cool story too.
Oh, Skip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Skip. I love, you know, I remember when I was he was your first one that came on board.
Yeah.
We ordered all the stuff.
Yeah.
I ordered everything he had.
Yeah.
And I got it shipped. Shipped to the house. My wife loved it. And I'm like, damn, this stuff is really good.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You know,
he has a lot of great things coming down the pipe, and they're gonna be. Well,
I love this one. Yeah. Which I told you I was gonna take.
You like the blueberry?
Blueberry muffin.
I have the blueberry on right now.
I smell so delicious.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Hey, honey, I'm home.
Yeah.
Did she bring muffins? I mean, it is. It is. I mean, and you know what? Coffee infused oil.
Yeah, I can't get away from it.
How are you thinking about that?
Between the Divi tree and this, it's a theme here.
Credit to you.
But I don't know how they. I mean, he had been using coffee oil in his beard oils because he has
an impressive beard.
Yeah,
which neither.
And
of
so
us
he's like, well, huh? Yeah, I know.
I've tried so many times.
I know. I still.
You're still trying.
I still try.
I love it. God bless.
Still try.
God bless.
But yeah, and then, you know, like talk about ingenuity or just, you know, another faith-driven
inspiration.
Moment,
you know, don't we think about it now, like with the lights or all this equipment, to think about who was inspired to think of. I mean, we're sitting here with a couple of cameras, some lights, and me and you. There's nobody operating anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whoa. You know, those are all the moments that we get to, I think we see them. I don't know that a lot of people see them, you know?
Well, I mean, it took me a long time to be awake to anything other than what was going between my ears, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you're locked down. You're caught up in fear. You're back behind. Like I said to you on the way here today, I'm like, I want to do this podcast as Darren and Doug babies.
Yeah.
I want to be, can you bring me back to like however, 1 year,
Yeah.
2 year, 3 years old.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'd like to call this episode the Unassuming Geniuses. How about that?
The unassuming geniuses.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I think that's what it is.
I think first of all, I'm going to get that tattoo. I'm an unassuming genius.
That's right.
You know, which is great, and those are the things that now we got to get T-shirts.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be the show, the next show that we do.
The unassuming genius.
Yeah.
Today's guest.
Yeah.
With Darren and Doug.
Yeah.
Is today's unassuming genius.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's going to be first?
Carmine. We'll get
Looking
Carmine.
forward to having lunch with Carmine.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna like Carmine. He's a great guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know. I want to throw this out, or, I'm going to blow you away with this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Hank? Whoa!
Do you mean Hank or Frank?
Hank
Hank. Oh, whoa.
from the diner.
From the diner. The little kid.
Remember he was in our
he was in
lives.
the live. Yeah,
he was in our lives, and he was loving on us.
Yeah, he was.
And I'm like, I got to meet this guy.
He's a good kid.
Hank.
He just was out in California at the Nationals for the surf team, for the Mascon High School surf team. He had a really good wave.
Good for him.
Yeah, they posted he had a really good wave.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah.
He was
surfer.
great when we were doing those lives. He was actually throwing out some great questions, and we were having a lot of fun with him. And
He's
I'm
a
like,
good
he
kid.
seems like an unassuming genius.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
You know, and I think maybe that's, you know, obviously we're a little bit more mature, me more so than you, and both of us more so than Hank.
Yeah.
So maybe we get this, you know, this young up and comer.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's the focus, to be like, hey, how do you do it every day?
Yeah.
You know, how do
Well,
you do it?
I mean, so that's one of the things I'm going to approach, because I never do this, but I'm going to go back to, I always like talking to like younger kids, and we're going to have our own, like, I'm going to have my own event, which I'd like to invite you down for, where I'm going to try to pull some of the younger kids that are either in high school and or in college, and just kind of talk to them and inspire them, you know, to have people that have been in some sort of, whether it's entrepreneurial or just some life experience, you know, because I think, you know, a lot of that is like overlooked, you know.
I agree 100%. Because you're not encouraged to step out. You know, we talked about this earlier. It's coming from a point of humility.
Yeah.
Of being humble.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, to talk about yourself sometimes feels like you're not being very humble.
Right.
So
it's different when you're talking about yourself or you're sharing your experience, and that's what I look to do.
Yes.
Share
so
my experience.
I think to share your experience rather than talk about yourself comes, and if you come from a point of humility, or when you can say, you know, because I'm just a cracked pot that God is shining His light through.
For sure.
Like, really check the record.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the hockey stick growth. And that's really the greatest thing of all.
Yeah.
To say that. Like, I don't take any credit for anything.
How much time do we have left?
5 minutes?
We have 5 minutes.
Is it an hour? We've been in here an hour already.
Yeah. We've been in here. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even get to talk about, you know, how much of a blessed career you've had, and how do you feel about the future at 60?
Like, I'm just getting started.
Okay.
You know, I've always felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so important, right? The best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Right? Or what we said earlier, which is what's the best that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a tremendous mindset to carry with you. And then being open to whatever it is.
Yeah.
Remember, because we make plans and God laughs.
For sure.
Sometimes they're greater. Usually they're less. If you know, I remember beyond my wildest dreams, I sold myself short.
Yeah. One guy told me that when I first got clean, he said that I haven't even, like, and I ran into him about probably 6-7 months ago, and he's like, you still haven't even scratched the surface yet.
And that's absolutely it.
Yeah.
30, 40, 50, 60. It's all there for the taking.
Yeah.
I mean, we read it all the time. I mean, some of the greatest businesses were started by men in their 40s and 50s.
I know.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. I went to therapy when I was going to therapy when I first got clean. And God bless this guy, Casey Terzis, who was very patient with me and took the time to get me into treatment. And he had told me, because I was like complaining to him about how I squandered my 30s, right? Because I, up until I was 33, and then I walked into my 34, just like really getting sober the summer of my 34th year.
Yeah.
And then honestly, the next 6 years, I was just really put my brains back together, my life back together.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe it. And he goes, well, what if your 40s are amazing?
Yeah.
And I was like, what if my fucking 40s are amazing?
Correct.
And all of a sudden
Right.
I was like, boom.
And I think that's it. That's, I mean, you have to learn, right? You do have to have experience.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get that. However, sometimes they say, the school of hard knocks. That's negative connotation.
Right.
But you have to gather experiences.
Yeah.
Right. And you can only gather those experiences if you're out there doing things.
Right. If you're going to play in the game of life, your
Right.
heart's going to get chipped up.
And you also, and we talked about this too. You're given the job to go to work for a major corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels overwhelming. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quit. Don't quit. Do it. Right. Cross out the N and the T. Cross out the Q and the U, and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. If it feels overwhelming, if it feels like you're going to be having to climb this mountain, chances are it's being put there for you for your growth. Right? I'm going to grow into this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to just wake up and be, the president.
Right.
Or a CEO, or have your own podcast. You got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to take the risk. You got to take the chances. You do have to kind of, work hard.
Yeah, you got to work hard. You have to be okay with the way that things feel in the beginning, right? So when I say the way that they feel, they're uncomfortable, you're scared. You know that people are just like not supportive, maybe talking about you.
Sure.
And you just have to be okay with that. And like, when I think about that, like, I'm like, that's not my worst day. You know what I mean?
Well, we say it all the time. What other people think of me is none of my business.
None of my business.
None of my business.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm crazy enough not to even care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to do things. We have to do things. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Also, I need an unlimited mindset.
Yeah.
So many people have a limited mindset. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, just because.
Yeah.
Because why? Have you tried? Well, no. It's a waste of time. Do you see the negatives on top of negatives, dog? I mean, you just talked yourself out of it. Do me a favor. Try and talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
I can do this. I know I don't have any experience, but I can learn,
Yeah. That leads into our final, question. What is your message to anybody that might be looking to start something or to?
I mean, this is not
what's your overall message or something you live by?
I really do say it all the time. You do have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But I think you can only get there with an unbelievable faith, right? There's so many aspects. There's no one phrase that I can throw out to anybody and say, just do it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a sneaker slogan. But, just do it. Just start.
Yeah.
Just start
Just
with
start.
the building blocks.
That's
and don't be afraid to ask for help. It's just that difficult.
Yeah.
right? Some people say it's just that easy, but sometimes that first step, it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But then you'll find that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Try it. I think it's so many messages. There's so many things that I really have to do. Here's what it is. Talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
Don't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's walking into that interview, walking into that first day of the job, walking into that church or temple or stadium to hear a message of faith and hope.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Yeah.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Don't stop. Don't quit.
Yeah.
Keep going. Be positive and be you. Love yourself.
Yeah.
All those things.
And that's the only thing, the only way that you're ever going to understand or familiarize yourself with yourself is to be doing,
Yeah.
Like I think that the beautiful thing is it's always like the knowing, right? The knowing of really who I truly am will never be known because I'm constantly evolving through the experiences that I'm having, right?
Yeah.
So like it's a fun thing to experience and chase. Like I'll
Absolutely.
never.
What a ride.
I'll never be able to fully be like, oh no, I don't like that. Well, if I'm continuing to try things, and do things, I've tried that, but I like from a result of doing this, I've experienced that, and I now know this,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of what's happened,
100%.
Do it, but do it scared, do it unknowing,
Right.
Like doing like this, right? The podcast,
Yeah.
calling people, like seeing like, hey man, like I know that I'm very new at this, but if you wouldn't mind, you give me an hour of your time. I love what you're doing. I love who you are. I love the channel that you've done. Like, would you give me some of your time?
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to have you on here, because I think I'm very confident in what you're going to do next, whatever it is. Because
I'm in the dream kitchen with that right now.
I've seen you do some amazing things and pull some rabbits out of hats. Like that was that. Like those are the guys that I've surrounded myself with throughout my very weird career. Like I had this boss who was like a big fish in a small pond, but then he opened up his own agency, and he would like get these people on the phone, and he would have all these opportunities. All of a sudden, I'm like, how is this guy doing it? Because he would just do it. He would like do it, and then he would figure it out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like that was inspiring. I was like, wow, if that guy could do it. And he gave me some of the best advice. He's like, listen, Darren, he's like, my friends know I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole, but they don't, And he's like, and I'll just go out and I'll do it, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
I love that. I mean, and I've always been that way. I remember when I started this second build out with nothing, and then we got our first piece of business.
Yeah.
And it was sizable. It was like $250,000. And there was somebody who said, "Oh, we can't take this order. Like we're not ready yet." If you wait to start until you're ready, you'll never get out of the box.
It's never happening.
That's how you learn.
Yeah.
Let's take it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Together. And that's how you figure out your people.
Yeah.
And your team.
Yeah.
I'm there for it.
Yeah.
I'm there for it. The unknown, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Well, again, I'd like to thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank the Divvy Tree.
Divvy Tree, coming at you for some coffee.
Yes.
Can't wait.
And
Cafex.
to our consistent friends at Cafex.